terrible situation all around. But I remember seeing that quite a while ago. I think it was a few years at least. But
so the question is, someone in the office, someone involved with their organization must have posted that video.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For
sure.
And yeah, I don't, it's just like the only thing you can do there is plead for mercy.
Yeah, there's no coming back from something so disastrous as that, I don't think.
Yeah.
You're just a poor organization. Really, you need to start at the very beginning, creating a company culture that's a little better. Obviously, this used car dealership had a very poor company culture.
I'm Scott Hess, tax and business consultant.
I'm John Barton, small business owner. Remember the tortoise and the hare? Slow and steady wins the race.
We started Turtlesmith to help people start small businesses, providing information and resources to small business owners and entrepreneurs.
Build a solid foundation and forge your dreams.
This is always annoying to ask, but if you're liking this content, please like and subscribe. It's the best way for us to get more followers and more people engaged in this great business content. You can also follow us on all socials at TurtlesmithOK and find us at turtlesmith.com.
Please like and subscribe.
What's up, man? Back for another one?
We are, yeah. I'm glad I finally getting a chance to sit down after...
Yeah, I had a good time with Calvin last week, but I missed you, man. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're back. So, what are we talking about this week, Calvin?
We're talking about PR nightmares.
In 1982, something really sad happened near Chicago. 7 people, including a 12-year-old girl and a whole family, died because they took Tylenol pills that had cyanide in them. They all got sick and passed away quickly after taking the medicine. At first, no one knew why this happened. But then, a Cook County investigator named Nick Pichos found something. He saw that the Tylenol bottle from the Janus family and the one from Mary Kellerman had the same number on them, MC 2880. Edmund Donahue, a deputy medical examiner, noticed that these bottles smelled like bitter almonds, which is a sign of cyanide. Tests on the victims' blood showed they all died from too much cyanide. The company that makes Tylenol, Johnson & Johnson, took back over 31 million Tylenol bottles. They warned everyone, offered $100,000 to anyone who could help find who did it, and replace the bottles they took back. This cost the company more than $100 million. Because of this terrible event, now we have safety seals on medicine bottles to keep us safe. Sadly, no one has ever been caught or punished for doing this.
Wow, I didn't realize no one had been caught.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. We actually studied this in college a little bit, where they talked about the Tylenol murders and how they Johnson & Johnson responded, and it was a positive review of how they responded, recalling all of the meds, coming up with these tamper-proof seals eventually, and yeah, they did a really good job, because Tylenol could have had a horrid reputation for a long time. If, you take Tylenol, you might die of cyanide. That's a bad reputation to have. So,
well, yeah, I mean, it is one of those things where you just don't know. You know what's happening with it. Nobody knows which bottle is going to be contaminated.
Right. Yeah, you're going to roll the dice.
Yeah. And so I was obviously, a teenager when that happened, so I didn't really pay that much of attention to it. But yeah, I mean, Johnson & Johnson today has a decent reputation, I guess, except aren't they still dealing with the baby powder scandal?
I think so, but Johnson & Johnson also makes a ludicrous amount of stuff.
They do.
Everything in your bathroom is from Johnson & Johnson.
Band-Aids, everything.
Yeah, they're a great company, and honestly, if you're in the stock market, it never hurts to buy Johnson & Johnson.
Well, there you go, folks. There's your stock tip of the day.
Yeah,
Johnson & Johnson. They will heal your portfolio.
A stockbroker told me that. He said you can never own too much Johnson & Johnson because they're on the Dow. They do really well.
People are always going to get sick. They're always going to get cut,
But this is a good example of a great response from a big company. It cost them a lot of money, $100 million to pull all that stuff out and then
especially
replace
in
it.
the 80s. It's like $500 million or something.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The thing that interests me though from the story that we just heard too is they said a whole family died. So what? They all took Tylenol at the same time?
I guess maybe the flu was running through their house, and so everybody was taking it.
Yeah, I guess it had to be something like that. Yeah. That's weird, man. Wow. Well,
and then I guess
sad.
I don't think the tamper-proof seals came out right away, like they weren't on the next batch that they put out, but tamper-proof seals were a result of this issue.
I think they were instituted pretty darn quickly, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I remember right.
Is that when they all started coming? I wasn't quite alive in '83 yet, so is that when tamper-proof seals became a thing?
I think, yeah, that they did respond with them pretty quickly, if I remember right, because of it. That, like, I can barely I was like 12 or 13 at the time.
Yeah.
And I think that pretty soon after that, they started coming out. That was their response, right? And they started coming out. We could look that up.
Yeah.
Actually, Calvin, can you look that up real quick? Like, when did tamper-proof steels start being used?
I would imagine that pretty quick, but I don't know if it was like the next batch that went out or if it's something they started to develop after.
So I wonder if they had to destroy all the bottles they took back, or did they just test them and stuff and then reissue the medicine?
I bet they just destroyed it, but maybe
It probably was easier to destroy it. Plus,
Yeah.
if they didn't do it and then someone else got sick,
then that would have been
been worse.
disaster. Yeah. So let's see. Tamper-proof seals on medicine. Does it? If you show more, does it say when it started? No.
No, even the internet doesn't know. AI's like, no idea.
Oh, yeah, there you
1982.
go.
Wait, what did it say?
Yeah, there you go. In response to the Tylenol poisoning, the FDA mandated tamper-evident packaging in 1989. So that's probably when it became widespread.
Okay. While early forms of security seals existed in the 19th century, the modern concept of tamper-evident packaging really took off in the 80s. So it was like there before, but nobody really did it. They created the first tamper-evident triple seal packaging for Tylenol and other over-the-counter medications. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So basically, we're trying to say that they're the ones that are responsible for not being able to get into your medicine easily.
Yeah, right.
With all the
Well, I don't know. Did they
childproof
do
caps
the
and,
childproof caps?
I don't know who
Maybe
did
so.
the childproof caps.
Yeah, maybe that's for another episode. But anyway, a great example of a big company handling a PR situation well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I come up against that sometimes. People will get online and they will claim that our case damaged their queue or something and be really upset.
Yeah.
And then my first response is like, my inner voice says, there's no way that your case, that the case could damage your queue and you're an idiot.
Yeah.
But my outer voice comes out and says, well, send me the case and we'll test it out. And if I can duplicate it on my queues, then I will repair your queue.
This week I almost embraced my inner John, but then I overruled it. The very first phone call I got this week, Monday morning, some lady was just screaming at me on the phone. She left a horrid message. I tried to call back. She was screaming because she had a tax issue. It was an IRS bill that she got. It was only $500, which in the world of IRS bills is not that disastrous.
God, I'd be happy to get a $500 IRS bill.
And she wanted to pay me $150 to fix it. That's what she demanded. She said, I'll give you $150 and you fix it. That's the deal. That's what she told me. I didn't give her a price. Yeah. And so I was trying to be very polite. I was like, ma'am, we can't do it for that much because the IRS just fired a bunch of people. It takes months and months and months for us to resolve any issue, even a little issue. And so I was trying to tell her, just call Taxpayer Advocate. They'll be able to help you out for free. You don't even have to pay me to do it. And she hung up, and then this morning, Monday morning, she left me a message, which I ended up blocking her. But she left me a message screaming that I should be put out of business. Class action lawsuit should come against me. I'm a horrible person, terrible customer service.
Is she even your customer?
No.
She's not even your customer?
No, she just inquired about us doing something, and I
How do
didn't
meth
want to help
heads
her.
get tax bills?
I don't know. She was just an older lady who was very upset, but I sat there for about 10 minutes thinking, what would John do? Like, how would I call this lady and ruin her day like she ruined mine? But I took the higher path, the Johnson & Johnson path, and I just didn't call her back. And good PR.
Oh, yeah. Well. I honestly, though, I often think of ways that I could be really petty and mean.
Yeah.
And I act on it extremely rarely.
Yeah. That's the move.
But
Just think about it, make yourself feel a little better, and move on.
I'm sure everybody and every business person has seen the jars that used to be out, like the ashes of problem customers and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are the jars we see them like at Walmart or craft fairs or whatever, and we always think I should buy that and put it in my business, and then you think, no, I don't think I'm gonna do that.
Yeah. Well, what's next, Calvin?
pizza in car lots.
Oh, have you seen this one?
I have seen this one a while back.
Yeah.
This was like a couple of years ago, right?
Oh, just let it play. You're good.
Anymore. It's a survival skill. The truth. Most people will
We're gonna
never
need to
build what they dream
Upgrade to
about.
YouTube Premium, I think.
Pizza delivery man versus used car lot employees. Who would you trust?
I want him fired.
Instead of the delivery guy getting fired, the internet got fired up. Shame on you all for how you treated that pizza delivery man. It all started when Jared Tansey from Palace Pizza delivered an order to F&R Auto Sales in Westport, Massachusetts. So follow the math. The total pizza bill was $42. The used car employees chipped in and gave Jared the delivery guy a total of $50. 2 20s and 2 5s, which means $7 left over. Jared leaves with a 50. There's disagreement about whether he said anything about keeping the change before he took off. The car lot people complained to Palace Pizza's manager. Jared comes back to return the $7, recorded by a camera in the car lot office.
It just doesn't make sense why you would hand me a bill that you were just going to have me drive back here to give you back anyway.
The man behind the desk explains he gave Jared all the money the group had collected and expected to get back the correct change.
The manager apologized once for you. You want to apologize again for you? It's okay, you got your $7 back, so the world is right now.
Oh no, it wasn't.
Hey, open the door before I put my foot in your ass. How's that?
Someone posted the video, it went viral, the insults flew. Scummy, nasty people. F&R Auto Sales was bombarded with terrible reviews. Do you or someone you know want to be treated like crap? Then this is your go-to place. The comments got so bad the car lot called police. By Thursday afternoon, the owner of F&R Auto Sales had publicly apologized for the actions that led to this embarrassing video. The owner offers an unspecified cash donation to the delivery man. He says the man in the blue shirt was not actually an employee and that the female employee has been fired. But will all that counteract the video?
Get the owner and the manager on the phone. I want that job.
Supporters of the delivery guy even set up a GoFundMe account for Jared. It raised thousands, much of it in donations of $7, the amount of the non-tip. Wrote one supporter, "Once I messed with a pizza guy, haven't sold a car since." Taking on the delivery man turned out to be biting off a lot more than a car lot could chew. Jeannie Moe, CNN, New York.
Oh, they worked a lot on that last joke.
Yeah, they did. They did. Yeah, terrible situation all around. But I remember seeing that quite a while ago. I think it was a few years at least. But
So the question is, someone in the office, someone involved with their organization must have posted that video.
oh yeah, for sure,
You know,
for sure.
And yeah, I don't. You know, it's just like the only thing you can do there is plead for mercy.
Yeah, there's no coming back from something so disastrous as that. I don't think.
Yeah.
You're just a poor organization. Really, you need to start at the very beginning, creating a company culture that's a little better. Obviously, this used car dealership had a very poor company culture, but I think that's most used car dealerships. Kind of a scummy industry.
I tell you what, though, that lady was like kind of overstepping there, you know, because that guy would have turned around. I don't think that would have been much of a match unless she was an MMA fighter.
You know, Calvin and I talked about this a little, and maybe the female people on our podcast would have a different opinion, but it seems to me like when women get put in jobs that are very kind of male orientated, like car dealerships or the military or police officers, that they kind of have to put on like even like an extra layer of attitude. They have to compensate a little to be taken seriously. I don't know if that's true.
It looks
or
like
not.
she's agreeing.
Yeah, is that true?
Who's
They
asked if you wanted to kick today?
Well, it just seems like women become a little worse even than the men just because they have to like overcompensate. So it's just unfortunate.
Is that true, Dylan? Are you overcompensating?
Not here. Here's wonderful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, here we have a good company culture.
See, internet, we're good. We're good. We want 5 stars on Yelp for being good.
Yeah, there you go. But I don't know. It just seems like a thing that happens, unfortunately, in some industries.
Yelp scares the shit out of me because you don't actually have to be a customer of some place to leave a review on Yelp.
Yeah, you do not.
You know, and that really scares me because it's like if something like this happens and it's caught on camera, then the internet responds quickly, and you may never live that down because it might live forever on Yelp if Yelp decides not to help.
Yeah, it's a tough situation if you start getting bombarded. Especially, there's been a few incidents I've read where companies have got bombarded by like 4chan or people on Reddit. It's definitely a thing that happens. Those guys terrify me.
Yeah, 4chan terrifies me too when they go after you on there. So
they will come out. The funniest one they did with that Shia LaBeouf deal. Did you ever see that where they found his flag out there? 4chan is wild, but all of them are great people. We love them.
We love 4chan.
Yeah, don't fuck with us, please. You're too much. We can't handle it.
8chan's awesome too. Wait, maybe I just got us in trouble.
I don't know. I've never heard of 8chan.
I don't know if 4chan and 8chan are like compatico anymore.
I have no idea.
If they ever were.
I don't know. Hopefully nobody gets too mad.
We're naive. Leave us alone.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, so this is a good question from Reddit we found. It's from New Tech in Town, advice for PR crisis. So I work with an anime convention that's recently grown in popularity and will be at a very large convention center venue next year. We just had a recent event take place, and during the week, rumors began to spread of drugging incidents that were ignored when people voiced their concerns. Our team sent out a message a day later stating that we have had no reports given to us regarding any drug-related incidents, but our community has since responded by stating they feel unsafe and our response was unacceptable. Our image is currently being dragged through the mud, and we've gone overnight from a beloved event to being labeled a danger in the community. What can we do?
I have an answer to this one.
Yeah.
I would make a video. I would literally make a video, and I would just be as heartfelt as I possibly could. I would open up my emails, right? And I would just I'd set my screen up where people could see it. And I'd go through my screen and I'd be like, I've gone through all my messages. I've gone through all my devices. I literally have no messages. If anyone out there has a record of a message that was sent to us that I didn't get, please send it to us.
So I think that's one of the key aspects to dealing with any type of crisis or real bad PR situation is transparency. Just like you said, open it up, open the books up, show people what's going on, and try to communicate as much as possible.
See, I do that like earlier, I was talking about earlier, like Ashes of problem customers and stuff.
Yeah.
So we had one situation where a guy posts on the most popular message board and says, oh, well, I went to the show and I had a problem with the case, and then John just dismissed me, and then, talks about how I was, not responsive to him and whatever. And then he says, well, I went over to his competitor, and I'm not going to name him right now, but he went over to his competitor and I bought a case and I was treated like gold, and I'm so glad I have that case, and so on, right? So I was sitting there racking my brain trying to figure out what this was, thinking about it. And finally I got a little bit more information. It turns out the guy came to the booth, asks me if the interior is supposed to work the way it does. And it pulled up a little bit, and I looked at it and everything, and I showed him that it worked, and I said, yes, this is how it's supposed to be. And I tested it in front of him. I grabbed my own cues, showed him how it was. Everything was good, right? And I asked him if he had any more questions, and he said no, and he left. But apparently he left unsatisfied. He thought the case was broken. It wasn't broken, but he, thought it was, and I guess he thought he was entitled to a new case or something like, I don't know. But my habit was always, if I noticed anything at all wrong with a case like that, I would just literally give him a new case or replace the interior or do something like that, right?
Yeah.
So there was literally no way that I would be dismissive of the person or rude to him in that scenario, right? But the guy just goes on and on and on, right, about, I'm a liar and this, that, and the other and all this. So I just picked apart his whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And I just went through it. I went through everything on it. And after I had reconstructed all the timeline and everything, and I just made a big, long video about it, and with the whole conversation and everything. And it totally backfired on the guy, because then tons of customers came out and they were like, well, this is my experience with a similar situation. And they were like, John was great. John gave me a new case. John repaired it. John got on his knees and was hammering nails in the middle of his booth to fix my case. John gave me a massage while he was fixing my case.
I don't think that went that far, did it?
Well, maybe for the customer I took in the back room. But
Inappropriate.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I do want to highlight this one comment on that question we got about the anime convention, because this was great. I'm not going to read it all. We'll try to throw it up on a post somewhere, but it's by Nutmaker27. I hope that's not like a slur of some kind. But anyway, you should think about both crisis communication and crisis management, which is great. So crisis communication is what you say, and crisis management is what you do. And this happens with PR situations when you're faced with something like this where your company's being dragged through the mud. So the crisis communication in this instance should be, we've had no reports of any incidences. You should be very transparent in showing that you haven't had any communications. And then you should communicate to the group of people that come to your conventions what you're going to do. So that's the crisis management portion. So, bringing in law enforcement to make sure that things aren't going bad, drug testing kits, increasing security or notices or something like that, making sure all drinks are sealed so that nothing can be done. Those are all examples of the crisis management. So you have to have kind of both when you're dealing with a situation like this, both the communication aspect, and then you have to show that you're doing something to prevent it, even if it didn't happen, like in this case.
So I would go further to say that that's excellent advice. I would go further to say to this other person, I would say, think about how many responses there are. You said that this convention has grown in size, and if the majority of the people that went to it had a great time, were treated right, didn't have any problem, they are likely to be the ones who say, "Hey, we didn't experience any of that. We think we're going to be okay. It sounds like it was a really isolated incident, maybe,
or it never happened at all.
Totally out of control of the organizers. Something like that could happen at any convention." In other words, like with my company, where I have a really great reputation among most of my customers, if the convention itself has a great reputation amongst the majority of the attendees, then they probably don't need to worry about it as much as it seems like they are worrying about it.
Maybe, but now, those things can also snowball pretty rapidly,
No, I understand that. I think that they should definitely do the crisis communication and crisis management, and they should. What they should absolutely have in that situation is a plan for that. Mm-hmm. Game it out a little bit.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm trying to make is that if there's, depending on how much the discussion is happening, I think that it's one of those things where it will probably die down and go away fairly soon, if in fact their reputation otherwise is great.
Yeah, I agree. If you take the correct steps to communicate and then manage the crisis, like I said, increasing security or making sure that people do feel safe, all of that goes away. Right. Your company does not get dragged through the mud, and you will be fine.
Right.
In the long run. Absolutely. Well, the last thing I was going to ask you about in this episode, since we're in Oklahoma City, one of the most infamous companies here is Paycom. Have you ever heard anything about Paycom before?
I mean, I've heard of the name Paycom. Yeah. It's on the stadium, right?
Yeah. Well, there are mixed reviews about working for Paycom. Have you ever heard anybody working for them before?
I mean, I know people that do work there, mm-hmm. and I have not heard anything positive or negative about Paycom.
So I have heard a lot of negativity. In fact, it pops up on my Reddit all the time because I'm a member of the OKC subreddit, and I always see people saying, hey, should I work at Paycom? I got a job offer. And then you see about 800 responses saying, do not ever work here.
Toxic environment, unrealistic deadlines, and unpaid overtime. The most scandalous part of that is unpaid overtime at a company that handles payroll.
Right. They're not following their own payroll rules. So
yeah.
But apparently they have a pretty poor reputation in Oklahoma City. I've never actually worked there. I've known a few people who worked there, and they said it was pretty rough. Long hours and overworked, underpaid,
and
aggressive.
executives at Paycom, if you would like to come on the Turtlesmith podcast and defend your company's culture,
Oh, I would
our
love
door
that.
is open.
Yeah, love it. But apparently it does have kind of a toxic work culture. And I think that starts, at the top. People need this in the C-suite.
Allegedly.
They need to bring a better company culture and really listen to their employees on stuff. But
Right. We're gonna say allegedly.
Allegedly
has a toxic work culture as reported by a few people. We don't know those people.
Yeah.
So
Fair enough. But there have been incidents, not allegedly, where they fired people directly before maternity leaves and directly before extra bonuses and stuff like that because they all of a sudden started underperforming.
Right. It's out. If the reasoning was because the person got pregnant or something like that or wanted maternity leave, then that was absolutely uncool, possibly not legal. Who knows?
Yeah.
But anything that we're saying about Paycom, negatively or positively, is allegedly.
I like how you're a lawyer in this.
Yeah, I am lawyering it because Paycom is pretty freaking big and we're pretty freaking small. Turtles get crushed all the time.
We got hard shells. We'll be all right, man. Yeah. Well, have you? I guess then you probably haven't heard the most recent controversy, which is when they hired a bunch of people to work from home, and now they're calling everybody back to the office, which has been a thing with a lot of different companies.
So, interestingly enough, Don and I had a conversation about this yesterday, and Don is of the opinion that everybody wants to be coddled, and that's why they want to work from home.
Yeah.
And I said, and I may be wrong about this, but I said, from what I understand, right, productivity didn't really suffer, but people's happiness factor went up because they could spend more time with their families. They could schedule, their life around, their work and what they needed to do.
Yeah.
And so, yes, that's why there's been a big pushback against going back into the office, because now you have to deal with the commute. You have to deal with all this time. You have to deal with people that you don't necessarily want to be around or deal with.
Yeah, that's what's tough about working at a big company. You have to deal with a lot of people. I did not do well in a corporate environment.
Yeah, I didn't either. I had a so when I sold my first company, right, which was also a pool cue case company, I went to work for a customer of mine, a former customer of mine. They were still a customer of the brand, but they hired me to go in and do product development and cases and things like that, help them with their cases and stuff. So the first week I was there, or the first week or so, I get into an argument with a guy over pricing of something, right? And he literally threatens to stab me.
Good Lord.
Yeah, really. I swear to God, this is true. This is true.
Another employee
threatens to stab me over there. He's like a lifelong salesman, right? It turned out to be the guy was a sweetheart, really, but for whatever reason, I mean, I don't know if he was off his meds that day or what.
Or you just got under his skin, man.
Or I got under his skin because of the way I was talking about it. Because my perspective was as a company owner, right? And his perspective was as an employee.
Yeah.
So that's and I was hired by the company owner to bring another company owner perspective into the business.
Right.
And so that's how I was approaching the conversation. But literally, he like threatened to stab me, and then later in the week we're in a meeting talking about like the colors of a pool cue or something, and an argument erupts over like the shade of blue on a pool cue, as to whether or not a particular shade of blue was going to land with people emotionally.
That seems like a reasonable argument.
Right? And this is like in the meeting, right? And I'm like, guys, it really honestly doesn't matter. The design is cool. People will buy it. Nobody's going to give a shit about the shade of blue.
Right.
Right? And a couple of the people were like really defensive about it, right? Like, no, it's got to be exactly this shade. So my response to all of that was to go find ecstasy, and I used to take ecstasy every morning before I went to work, so that I could tolerate well, it doesn't matter. I'm long gone from that company. They can't do shit to me anymore.
Yeah, but let's not,
I'm not encouraging that. What I am encouraging is finding your happy place, whatever way. Now, I didn't do yoga, so other people would do yoga or something like that, right? To get
which is the healthier and better way
to get themselves in a happy state of mind.
Yeah.
Now, I was like, 35, 36, something like that at the time, 38. I don't know. I had never done that ever. And, but after I discovered it and the whole toxicity of these meetings and these discussions that I was having, because I was coming at it from entrepreneur and an owner standpoint, right? I was like, what I'm telling you, I think makes sense, from a health of the company standpoint.
Right.
And they were like, I'm just defending my little bit of turf. If I can get my blue into this queue, then that'll be my achievement for the month or something.
Fair.
I guess.
Yeah.
But
got to take the small wins when you can get them.
I found a way to love everyone.
There you go.
That's what I'm trying to say.
All right.
So there you go.
Fair enough.
So maybe if you work at Paycom and it's a little bit too toxic and they don't drug screen you every day.
Nope, I wouldn't even bother with
I
that.
would
Finishing
say
that sentence.
yoga.
Yeah, yoga
would probably be the way you want to go.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think we learned a little about how to handle good problems, PR problems. Any other thoughts on how to handle a bad situation?
Don't take ecstasy before you respond to allegations of drugging other people at a convention.
That seems like a good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think that's it. Yeah.
That's all we got.
I don't have any further comments after that one. So
everybody's like, I don't have anything to say after the ecstasy thing.
Nope. Nope. Stole the show.
All right. Peace
See you
out.
later. This is always annoying to ask, but if you're liking this content, please like and subscribe. It's the best way for us to get more followers and more people engaged in this great business content. You can also follow us on all socials at TurtlesmithOK and find us at turtlesmith.com.
Please like and subscribe.